Yeah.
So I think there are definitely. So this conference there was like 5,000 people, and so I think at least 4,900 people who know more than me about e-health and AI, and I hope they will figure it out. But I just think it's not that easy. And if you talk to vendors, everyone is AI, everyone overpromises, everyone can do everything. If you ask them real world questions, like, for example, my data is not governed. I have no idea what's in my databases. Like, it's just a pile of data people collected over years. No documentation, no quality checks, no ownership. How will your AI system perform? You know what they say mostly? We will, no worries, we have agents, we have AI agents. So they put like another buzzword on top of the first buzzword, and they hope to to convince me with that. Okay, you have an agent, which I believe was called automation, like last 5 years long. So what happens now? I'm curious. I'm observing. I still think we will see a lot of change, but I'm happy we live in these challenging times and interesting times. Yeah.
Yeah, we got interesting times ahead of us. I think that AI can never replace that human interaction, that human touch, that level of trust that you build up in an individual. And I think it all boils down at the end of the day to trust. It's like you mentioned it yourself, like would you trust a plane that's completely autonomous that flies you from point A to point B? Well, the answer is I would like to think no,
Yeah.
unless I could be
Adam,
absolutely convinced.
I agree with you, but let me play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
Would you prefer AI assistant if you're like in a difficult medical condition, maybe like fighting for your life? Would you prefer like a AI assisted, like whatever chatbot thing to talk to you to calm you down, or would you prefer like a nurse who has 5 years till her retirement and just did 40 hours like shift? So like she's totally
Yeah.
annoyed and exhausted, and now she needs to talk to you and like calm you down. Like what works better? I don't know. This was the
Well, it
kind of
depends how
argument.
dismissive the nurse is, right? Because if the
Of
nurse
course,
is
of course.
just like,
No,
because
you
because
you have beautiful people who even after 40 hours like without sleep are still like professional. But the argument of people in this debate, for example, was, well, doctors nowadays are not necessarily very empathetic. So
yeah,
are you
yeah, yeah.
sure AI would be worse? But
But then again,
again,
is the AI actually being empathetic, or is it just mirroring
it's
what
not.
I
It's
hear?
not. It's not. It's
Yeah,
just mimicking. It's just mimicking our behavior. It's just
but it can
repeating.
feel
Yes.
empathetic, right?
Nevertheless, there are a lot of startups which do like emotional support with AI. You need to be careful because it should not go therapy and it should not go, psychotherapy or psychiatry, of course. But there's a lot of mental support, something around AI. Again, I'm actually with you. I also believe that humans want to talk to humans, be it recruiting, be it engineering or medicine. Yeah, but
I mean, in recruiting, like, we're using AI. I use AI every day to, help in every single process and optimize all my processes. Because as you say, like, if you don't want to fall behind and if you want to stay ahead of the competition, you've simply got to adopt it. And it does speed up a lot of things for me. But the one thing that I feel like it can never replace is that human element. Like,
mm,
you've heard about these AI call bots now where they'll call up a manager and speak to that manager and say, I've got this fantastic candidate, and that sales them
okay,
into the role. Like,
okay.
I really hope it can't replace that, but I don't feel like it could, because you can't physically, meet an AI over a coffee and build a relationship with an AI, right?
It works well in 99% of the cases with a happy pass. It works terribly wrong in 1% when something unexpected happened. I think, like we both know from our careers in recruiting, you probably saw everything, right? People doing crazy things in the last second, like people writing crazy things to companies in the last second. So, like, I don't know how I will react.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Yes, it feels. I'm excited actually. I'm excited and a bit frightened.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people feel the same way,
Yeah.
right? And I noticed you've also like in one of your posts you joked
Mm,
about an AI hiring AIs hiring AIs,
mm, mm.
which is a really funny concept, and it does make you think a little bit. But what do you actually think the role of an AI will be in? I know we touched on this a bit, but what do you
Mm.
think the role in AI will be in shaping data structures, data team
Okay.
structures, over the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, so I think that's maybe more practical. Let's split into like data engineers, data analysts, and data scientists. I know that nowadays a lot of people like start using titles like LLM engineer or AI engineer. It doesn't really matter. Let's say you have people who are more technical, like data engineering. You have people who are more like business data analysts, and you have machine learning AI. And the roles are fuzzy. Like I'm definitely not saying that there's a clear distinction. And again, given that budgets are shrinking, teams are shrinking, middle management is vanishing, everyone is doing everything, and yeah, you cannot as a data engineer you cannot expect just to SQL and like ignore the business. So I think all three should use AI heavily. I think for the data engineer, it's coding, right? So all developers, you have coding assistants, you have many possibilities to utilize it. Testing. I really hope it can help us resolve some governance issues, maybe semi-automated annotation of a data sets. Uh, we have tooling. We have data catalogs. Since many years, we have like great features, but people never have time and courage to like sit down and document. So hopefully, maybe it can be done. Also on the quality side, also governance topic, maybe you can build some systems which detect anomalies, which say something looks cheesy in this data set. I don't think it's right, based on AI. Um, well, for analysts, I know many people personally and like through LinkedIn and just conferences heard about many projects about replacing data analysts with AI or helping them, assisting. Because this idea that business people will ask databases or like BI software in a plain language and get some results is not new. Actually, it's funny, but SQL was born as an idea, let's give managers and business people access to data. And that's the reason SQL is like it uses like natural language, like select from blah blah blah. It people back then thought we just give them a language which is almost English and they will just do their business stuff from our data. It never worked. Yeah, even
It hasn't
backend
turned out that way at all, has it? It's got the other
even
end of the
even
scale.
backend even backend developers said SQL is too technical, too low level for me. I need a data engineer. So now I think we are on a fifth iteration of this idea with AI. But even before AI, maybe you know, like ThoughtSpot is a great tool which tried to do natural language querying or AI. They didn't call it AI back then. Tableau had like possibilities to ask questions. I saw it in multiple occasions failing because of governance and metadata. Like it works super well in sales pitches with a perfect data sets. But if you apply it to real world data, it doesn't work so well because rarely companies have business glossaries and a clear connection or ontologies, not to mention ontologies, a clear connection between like business terms and names and columns and tables. So it failed back then. Now people try it with AI and they hope they can solve it, and I hope they can solve it either. I don't think it will replace analysts, but maybe it will assist. Yeah, so it can help analysts to basically find the right data and ask the right questions. It will not remove the need to talk to business people and squeeze out of them what they really need, right? They, I always explain it to my teams like they come to you and they ask you, can you please do this? Like this dashboard, this chart, this data. And you should ask them, yeah, but why? What are you trying to achieve with it? And they tell you, yeah, because I do this. And then you ask them, yeah, but why do you want to do this? Like, what is the business? And you need to ask this why many times until you get to the root cause. And then maybe you don't need a dashboard. Maybe you just need one number which is written in a in some Google Doc, like just here, look, we have a number, just take it. So it's all about understanding what people need, not what they want, because what they want is normally not what they need. So yeah, I think that's basically this part will probably not go away, and I think this is the complexity of the data analytics job. And machine learning AI, okay, either you use ready systems or you maybe train systems or you pick, compare different LLMs. You would probably nowadays, cost plays a big factor. Like in my current engagement, we analyze research literature, like 40 million papers in public publications in a public database. And for that, we want to do some processing with LLM, and it should be cheap enough so we can afford to do it 40 million times. Yeah, it can't be like $5 per paper. So yeah, I think that's where the whole industry is shifting. What else?
Well, actually, I think,
Yeah.
I think I probably should wrap it up for the
Yeah,
AI
yeah, yeah, sure.
section.
I can talk hours about
No, no.
this.
Honestly, it's been absolutely fascinating. Like some really interesting, unique takes. Um, I think I echo a lot of the sentiments, a lot of what you were saying as well. Like, I think we're on the same page.
Uh,
And we walk into a slightly uncertain future, but hopefully with rose-tinted glasses on. And
Adam,
look, sorry.
sorry, just to really close the topic, two more
Yeah, of
thoughts.
course.
Or
Close
like
it,
two.
close it up.
You can't close AI topic. Somebody will reopen it 10 seconds later. But I think I always try to do two things when I talk about AI. I try to get people back to earth, like just get back to earth. Let's talk about what is here and now. And second thing is remove this panic element. Like it will take away our jobs, it will ruin everything. We are all doomed. We are not doomed. It's a powerful tool, but we have seen worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Well, let's hope it doesn't steal all of our jobs. I certainly hope I'm not going to be out of a job in a few years' time. But I don't think it ever will fully replace. I think you've got to look at it as a tool to enhance and improve your existing processes, and your existing thoughts and feelings in the business, but not necessarily to replace that entirely.
Yeah.
Um, let's hope it doesn't replace hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. But look, I do have a question for you. I think that let's to kind of wrap up this segment. It'd be great to talk have a bit of a reflection piece, on your career, and I have a couple of questions prepared. I'd love to understand your thoughts
Mhm.
behind. So, this is an interesting one. What's a belief you held 10 years ago as a data leader that you've now changed your mind about?
Oh, that's give me 10 seconds. That's a good one. Okay, so misconceptions, or basically things where I changed my mind, right? In with experience. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay, maybe the first one, if you would ask me like 15 years ago, 10, maybe even 10, I would probably tell you can solve any problem with Postgres and pure SQL. Like plain SQL and Postgres are go-to for every problem. Funny enough, that's the same thing people tell me today about Databricks or Snowflake. Like
Yeah.
whatever your problem is, I'm not interested in your problems. Here's a solution, Snowflake.
It'll be something else in another 5 years as well.
If,
Yeah.
of course, of course. I wish it was that simple. Like there is no silver bullet. The reason we have so many technologies is that each of them has pros and cons, yeah? And something which is in production stays in production. So even if a technology is horrible, it's forever. Like, okay, if it reaches some level, yeah? Some scale. So I think this is like the first one, like you can just learn one thing or one approach or one technology and then apply it. Unfortunately, you can't. Or maybe luckily you can't. Second one is also easy. I was assuming for a while that hard skills are more important than soft skills. I thought like 80% hard skills and 20% soft skills. Today, I am probably other way around. It's like
Oh,
20% hard
really?
skills. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I will hire a senior data engineer who cannot do like simple query in SQL, yeah, and just say, oh, he's such a beautiful human being and such a great communicator, and it will compensate. It will not. Of course, you have some minimal requirements for every job, but hiring somebody who is technically brilliant but lacks like attitude. Attitude is even worse than communication, I think. If you have attitude issues, it's a bit it's a bit dangerous to believe you can change an adult person if the way they approach problems or the way they like talk to other people is not necessarily the way you want it. So I think this is really crucial, and this is also something I pay a lot of attention in my interviews. Of course, we also do technical interviews, but if somebody fails a SQL query, it's not that bad, actually. And also, another thing, sometimes people expect somebody to be a specialist, narrow specialist in technology X. Okay, if you need this, get a freelancer for 3 months to do some job with this technology. If you want to hire for 3, 5 years, try to find a good engineer, and good engineers can learn technologies. Yeah, so I think this is like a hard skills versus soft skills thing. And the third misconception I definitely had was scaling. Like, let's scale, let's design for scale. Again, you should not design things if you know they will fall apart next Monday, but you should avoid premature optimization. You should not prepare for scale if you don't know if the scaling phase comes, right? If you're in
Right.
a startup, you don't know if you survive. You don't know if you will be working there. Like generally, the whole company is not about scaling tomorrow, and it's a problem nice to have. If you suddenly have millions of users switching to Snowflake, you can do it, right? But if you spend all your seed money on building something which is like for millions of users, but it's never finished, like not perfect, slim and simple is better than no. Let's put it this way. Simple, slim, lean, but working is much, much better than perfect and complex and ready for scale, but 99% done. Like you don't care if it's 99 or 5%. It's just not there. It's
Yeah.
not working. So I think this is a huge problem of engineers, of many engineers. They want to make beautiful pieces of engineering, but that's not something which pays our salary. Like things which solve business problems pay our salary. Ugly technologically ugly things still pay our salary. Yeah.
Talking about scaling, it'd be interesting to find out, are there any other mistakes you have seen companies, repeatedly making time and time again when they try to scale up their data functions?
Oh, now I will improvise. So I will just tell you what's on top of my head,
Go
of my
for it.
mind. So yeah, I start with things which are on top of my mind, and then probably those are the most important things as well. So first and foremost, building an isolation of business users. Like if you build things without talking to your users, it's set up to fail. You just it will never work.
Yeah.
Uh, Second, I think there's a lot of discussions about centralized versus decentralized in the data area. And I think both has advantages and disadvantages. I believe in data mesh. If you have a scale, if you have a use case for it, I think it's a great idea. But I also saw it failing drastically. And maybe like agile as well, right? So many people say they do data mesh, they don't. They're ignoring like basic ideas of data mesh philosophy, and then they blame data mesh for not being a good fit for their company.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think decentralizing too early or too late is an issue. Then you should not expect your teams to spend 100% of the time on delivering features. You should give them some space to do technical depth, infrastructure, self-improvement, learning. Yeah, you cannot just, sometimes businesses or product people are really planning 100% capacity. And I don't like when I hear word capacity actually applied to humans. But let's say they just put as much as a team can do and they don't leave any space for improving things or working on quality or documenting. And this is dangerous, I think. Um, I mean, obviously, you should not do functional team split. Like you shouldn't build a team of data engineers and aside of them a team of data analysts. I think you should go with cross-functional teams, split the business or domains, and then make them end-to-end responsible. Overhiring in a current landscape, even if you have a lot of funding, you should be mindful hiring a data team because, again, I'm a data person, and of course, I've always advocated for data people. But in my last company, we were 350 people, and I had 27 in data. Is it a healthy ratio? Maybe for the system we were trying to build, it was, but it ended up in a layoff. Not just because of data, because of many other factors. What I'm trying to say, don't scale solely with hiring because you don't want to downscale at some point. Yeah, you can downscale on a cloud, but downscaling people is tough. I'm almost done. Believing in self-service. I was really into self-service BI until I realized many stakeholders don't want it. They don't want perfect tools. They don't want to be educated. They don't want SQL training. They just want their problems, business problems to be solved with your data. And they expect you to do it, right? So you can do it. You can use it to reduce a lot. You can do a lot like data champion programs. People who want to move data in business teams, you can help them, of course. But at the end, I think believing in self-service BI as a silver bullet is also dangerous. Uh, or AI, like same as AI, believing that you will buy an AI tool and you don't need the data, you scale. Last thing, just in case you forgot,
Yeah.
building an isolation of business users is dangerous. Like, don't do it. Like, don't build without talking to business, please.
Definitely. Well, look, I think great insights as always. Amazing discussion today. So great to find out more about you, Ilya, on both a personal and professional level. And look, for anyone watching, do give Ilya a follow on LinkedIn, and as he says, drop him a connection request if there's a valid reason to do so, right? And look, amazing speaking to you today. Next podcast, we will be interviewing a head of data science over a medtech company in Berlin. So that's just a little sneak view of a medtech startup in Berlin. But Ilya, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot, Adam. It was really a pleasure talking to you, as always. Today, a bit broader, broader like a list of topics, and it was really nice to be here.